Hi everyone. Hope you all are good. We are here for grade 10 math. You can find all the lessons on aplusstudents.com. You have to log in there using your email address and password as provided by the administrator. Then you have to select math from the subject tab. Scroll down to grade 10 and then click on view all lesson. So there you can find a list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter probability. So please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions as well. Probability. Let's just start with the first lesson, that is theoretical. Okay, let's just start with the first example. You spin the spinner once. What is the probability of purple or red? So purple or red are two different events. First, let's just calculate the probability of red. You have only one portion that is red out of 3, right? Probability of red is 1 over 3. Then the probability of purple is you have just one portion purple out of 3, that is also 1 over 3, right? Then you have to calculate the probability of red or purple, right? That means you need to multiply the probability of red and purple. You need to add 1 by 3 plus 1 by 3, so that equals 2 over. Got it? Let's just start with the test questions. Okay, May supplies costumes to number of theatre companies. Recently provided 14 different hats, including 7 mortarboards. What is the experimental probability that that the hat from May's inventory will be a mortarboard? Okay, so you have to find the probability of mortarboard, right? So you have, the total hats are 14. Out of 14, 7 of them were mortarboard, right? So now you need to calculate the probability of, mortarboard, so that would be 7 over 12, 7 over 14, right? Because the total hats are 14. Out of 7 of them were the motor. So that would be 7 over 14, and the correct option is 1 over 2. Got it? The probability is 1 over 2. Got it? The correct option is 1 over 2. Okay, the next one is you spin the spinner once. What is the probability of prime, right? You have 4 portions of the spinner. 2 of them are the prime. 5 and 7 are the prime numbers, right? So that means the probability of prime is 2 divided by 4. And when you multiply it by the 100, because you need to write the answer in percentage, that would be 50%. Got it? So the correct option is 50%. Okay, the next one is Mitch's mother recorded how many donuts he has eaten over the past few months. What is the experimental probability that the next donut Mitch eats will be a glazed donut, right? So the glazed donut is 2, right? And the total donuts are 12, 13, 14, 17, 18, right? So the probability of glazed donut is 2 divided by 18, and 2 divided by 18 equals 2 divided by 18 equals 1 over 9. That means the probability of glazed donuts is 1 over 9. The correct option is option number 1, that is 1 over 9. Got it? Okay, the next one is the table shows the enrollment in university class so far, broken down by student types. What is the experimental probability that the next student to enroll will be a graduate student? So, which is the correct option? Which is the correct option? Yes, the correct option is 1 over 3. It would be 4 over 12, and that equals 1 over 3. The correct option is 1 over 3. The next one is you pick a marble at random. What is the probability of blue or brown? Write your answer as a percentage. So, which is the correct option? So, the correct option is you have three marbles that are blue and three marbles that are brown. So, you need to calculate the probability of blue or brown. So, six of them are blue and brown out of eight, right? So, you need to calculate the answer in percentage form. So, which is the correct option? Yes, the correct option is 75% of them are blue or brown. The correct option is 75%. Got it? A grocery store recently sold 2 cartons of lemon yogurt and 14 other cartons of yogurt. What is the experimental probability that the next carton of yogurt sold will be lemon? So, which is the correct option? Yes, the correct option is 1 out of 8. Option number 2 is the correct option. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let's just move on to next lesson. And the next lesson is compound events find the number of outcomes. So whenever we have to calculate the probability of compound event means events more than one events, right? The compound probability of outcomes of two events, right? Just look at the first example. You spin the spinner and flip a coin. How many outcomes are possible? So you are given a spinner and a coin. Spinner has one, two, three, four, five portions, and you have coin has two outcomes. You need to calculate the total outcomes. So you have to do 2 times 5, right? Because when you flip a coin, you have two outcomes, either head or either tail, right? And for the spinner, you have five outcomes. You need to calculate the total outcomes. So you need to do 2 times 5, and 2 times 5 makes 10. That means the total outcomes for both the events is 10. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, let's just start with the practice questions, test questions. You pick a card and roll a die. How many outcomes are possible? So, which is the correct option? You have five cards, right? And for the dice, you have six options. So, the total outcomes are that would be 6 times 5, and 6 times 5 is 30. The correct option is 30. The correct option is 30. Got it? Basically, when you need to calculate the total outcomes, you have to multiply the outcomes of both the events, right? The outcome of the first event is 5, and for the other one it is 6. So you have to do 6 times 5, that is 30. Got it? The correct option is 30. Okay, the next one is you spin the spinner and pick a marble. How many outcomes are possible? So, which is the correct option? So, you have three outcomes for the spinner and six outcomes for the marbles. So, that is 6 times 3. The correct option is 18. So, the total outcomes are 18. The correct option is 18, right? The next one is you flip a coin and roll a die. Roll a die. How many outcomes are possible? So, which is the correct option? correct option is yes, that is 12, right? Because you have six outcomes for the dice and you have two outcomes for the coin, so the correct option is 12. You pick a card and flip a coin. How many outcomes are possible? So, which is the correct option? The correct option is yes, they have total 10 outcomes. The correct option is 10, right? The next one is you pick a marble and spin the spinner. How many outcomes are possible? Which is the correct option? The correct option is yes, you have four marbles and two outcomes for the spinner. So the total outcomes are 2 times 4. The correct option is 8. The total outcomes are 8. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let me just move on to next lesson. And the next lesson is independent and dependent events. So let's just start with the lesson that is independent and dependent events. Okay, the first example is students in a fifth grade class are writing reports on famous inventors. Each student may choose one inventor from a list. The teacher does not want any repeats. Leon chooses first, followed by Alice. Are these events dependent or independent? So you are given the example. Each student may choose one inventor. The teacher does not want any repeats. You need to see if the events are but are they dependent or independent events. Let's just first discuss. So when you have two events, the probability of first event affects the probability of second event. That means the event are dependent, right? And if the probability of the second event does not affect the probability, like the probability of first event does not affect the probability of the second event, that means the events are independent. Now look at this example where the repeats are not allowed, right? So Leon chooses first. Now for the Alice, you have one less choice because of the inventor is already chosen by Leon. Alice has now one less option. That means the outcomes of the Alice are different from the outcomes of Leon. So that means they are the dependent events, right? The two events are dependent since no repeats are allowed. Leon's choice affects when inventors are left for Alice, that is dependent event. Whenever you are not allowed to repeat, whatever event is, if repetitions are not allowed, that means the event is dependent, right? Let's just start with the test question. Isaac picks a marble at random. Without putting the first marble back, he picks a second marble at random. Are these two events dependent or independent events? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 marbles. For the first event, we have 9 marbles. So he picked a marble at random, then without putting back, right? For the first event, you have 9 marbles, right? But for the second event, you have 8 marbles because the one he picked first, he didn't put it back. So for the second event, he have 8 marbles. That means they are the dependent events because for the first event, you have 9 marbles, and for the second event, you have 8 marbles. So outcomes of the second event is affected by the outcomes of the first event. So they are the dependent events. The correct option is Abbes buys a sculpture at an art show featuring one of a kind art. A few minutes later, Beckett comes to the same art show and buys a sculpture too. Are these two events dependent or independent? The correct option is they are the independent events, right? Because the outcome of the second event is not affected by the first one. So they are the independent events. Independent because the show has one eBay purchase effects. Oh yes, that is one of a kind. So only one sculpture. So the one sculpture that eBay buys now, BK have one less option. So yes, that is the dependent event. Sorry. Marshall pulls a coin out of his pocket and places it on the table. Then he reaches back into his pocket and take a second coin out. Are these two even dependent or independent? They are the dependent events, right? Because for the first time he put one coin out, and for the second time he have one less coin. They are the dependent events. The correct option is dependent. Students in the fifth grade class are writing reports on famous inventors. Each student may choose one inventor from a list. The teacher does not want any repeats. Leon chooses first, followed by Alice. Are these two events dependent or independent? Which is the correct option? The correct option is they are the dependent event because the repetitions are not allowed, so they are the dependent events. Robbie and Alexa get messages from the same person. On Monday, Ruby calls and pick one of the available appointment times. On Tuesday, Alexa calls and pick one of the remaining appointments. Are these two events dependent or independent? So, which is the correct option? Yes, they are the dependent events, right? The correct option is dependent. Students in a composition class may select certain topics on which to write an essay. Repeats are allowed, and then they do not need to inform the teacher of their choice prior to the due date of the essay. Are these two events dependent or independent? The correct option is because the repetitions are allowed, right? So they are the independent events. The correct option is independent. Manual, an employee at a marketing company, is conducting phone surveys of randomly selected people. One on the first phone call, the random dialing system connects Manuel with someone named Robert. On the next phone call, the random dialing system connects Manuel with someone named Tammy. Are these events independent or dependent? The correct option is these two events are the independent because they are calling randomly. So the correct option is independent events, right? Guests are filing out RSVP cards of for Abe's wedding. They must choose which type of entry they would prefer for dinner. The choices are chicken, beef, or vegetarian dinners. Billy chooses an entry on the other side of town. Preston also chooses. Are three events are dependent or independent? The correct option is they are the independent events, right? Damon picks a card at random. Without putting the first card back, he puts a second card at random. Are these two events dependent or independent? Guests are filing out RSVP cards for Abe's wedding. Which is the correct option? They are the dependent events because you didn't put the card back, so they are the dependent events, right? Okay, the next one is students in a classroom are voting for the class president by secret ballot. Kelly submits a ballot and then Bobby does. Are these two events independent or dependent? Which is the correct option? The correct option is because that's a secret ballot, right? No one knows what is the choice of the other one, so they are the independent events, and you can select any of the choices given, so they are the independent events, right? Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. So we were working on grade 10 math. Chapter we're working on is probability, and the lessons we have covered today are theoretical and experimental probability, compound events, find the number of outcomes, and independent and dependent events, right? So please make sure before the next session you can complete all the practice questions for the lessons we did today. That is your homework until next session, right? So if you need more help with any of the lesson, you can contact any tutor on the Skype. They are available from Monday to Friday 5 to 9, or either you can join me in the interactive session That would be daily from 4 to 5 and from 9 to 10. So if you have any questions related to the lessons we have just finished, you can ask. I'm here to answer any. All for today. See you in the next session. Bye, everyone.